Good morning, one and all. Starting a business is a huge commitment. Entrepreneurs often fail to appreciate the significant amount of time, resources, and energy needed to start and grow a startup. And we have to face a lot of challenges in between the journey. So the confusing question is how to start a startup. But don't worry, IDC Vast presents a roadmap chapter 1 about a total structure a startup should know. And we have here with our resource person, Ms. Anuja Bashir, founder and CEO of Aura. So before we begin the session, I would like to invite our industrial lead, Mr. Sachin Sudesh, for the welcome note. Sachin, over to you.
A warm good morning to everyone present here. Ideas are cheap, ideas are easy, ideas are common, everybody has ideas. Ideas are highly overvalued. Execution is all that matters. With this famous saying, I now welcome you all to today's program. Chapter 1 Roadmap. A total structure a startup should know. We have Mrs. Anuja Bashir, founder and CEO of Aurea, an entrepreneur, brand strategist, marketing consultant, corporate trainer, and CMO at Flexi Cloud. I once again welcome Anuja ma'am as our resource person for today's program. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sudesh. Thank you, Sachin. Okay. By the way, Suraj, my company's name is Aurea. Okay, it is the U sound doesn't sounds there, and it is Aurea instead of
Okay, man. Sorry.
Aurea. Yeah, I'm very particular with that stuff. Okay. So anyway, it's once again very happy to meet you all. I think I've taken another session for you before regarding employability skills, I guess. So yeah, so it's something very important that we need more and more entrepreneurs today because the situation, the scenario has changed. Definitely employment is one big thing, hurdle, which again people are facing, and entrepreneurship is again a solution of which many ideas are coming up. So before I begin with in detail, I just like to give you an overview of what this entrepreneurship, entrepreneur, innovator, innovation is. So what is basically what we call, what is that, how do we define innovation? Okay, an innovation is a concept or an idea that can change a community or provide a solution to a vast number of people who are facing a particular problem. So that is what is basically called the innovation. So innovation is a pillar, a kind of a strongest supporting element which actually helps to build up a startup. So any startup is a venture which a team of people or a bunch of people having different kind of expertise come together with their ideas of solving maybe a current problem, maybe a problem, maybe a support system to a problem. So to know that, you should actually know what are the types of innovations we have, because when you build a startup, what you have to know is that you should know what are you focusing, what are you aiming. Like the old story we say, when Drona was teaching his students to aim, he just said them, okay, tell me what do you see. So Arjuna was his only disciple who said that, yeah, I see the bird's eye. Likewise, a startup should know what exactly he or his team or she or his team is focusing. Unless and otherwise, you know that, you actually end up in failure. So that is the reason why most of the startups, their ideas might be good, but because of a lack of a lot of other perspectives and other knowledge factors, many of times they fail. So today I'm just trying to give you an overview. See, it's not if I start taking class on a roadmap, it would not end in 1 or 2 hours. It will go because there are so many parts of it. So, but just in nutshell, what you should understand, that is what I'm briefing today. So again, we were talking about innovation. Now, what are the type of innovation? Because we need to have some kind of element, startup element in our system, which makes our venture innovative. So that's how a startup is formed. So the 4 different types of innovations are basically new innovation. New innovation means in market, you are bringing a new kind of change or a new kind of some kind of platform or a venture wherein it is very new to the industry. Example like blockchain. Okay, when it was introduced, it was kind of very new to the system. Now there is another kind of innovation called disrupt innovation. Disrupt innovation is something which already industry has, and you are actually creating very different variety from that of industry. Very different kind of, like for example, you're changing, you're totally giving a zor ka jhatka, kind of some stuff like that. So that kind of innovations are called as disrupt innovation. For example, you can create another Flipkart, another Amazon, or something, some sort of stuff like that. So that is basically a disrupt innovation. Now the third one is sustainable innovation. Sustainable innovation is that you already, this particular idea exists in the society, but you kind of bring in new additional incorporation of various techniques into it. You can bring AI, you can bring some other elements, okay, some other technical elements or stuffs by which you can actually make your ventures go through. So that is called as a sustainable innovation. So other than that, there are innovation which actually related to current events and stuffs wherein you find a breakthrough kind of stuffs. Okay, so they are called something kind of like solving the problems which are existing right away, which needs abrupt solution. So these are basically few of the if you classify major kind of innovation, these comes into this categories. So now this is what a different so I've spoken about what is innovation, what are the different types of innovation. When we implement this innovation into our venture with the team of people who are kind of like experts, or who are thoroughly passionate. Sometimes you can't be experts when you're starting it. You might not know everything about it. That's why I use the word passionate, because passion ultimately lets you gain more knowledge, and then finally you become experts. So then you bring up together with your teammates, you build up a startup. So this is how a startup is formed. Okay, like I said, startup is a venture organization which a group of members who are passionate or expert in that particular field collaborate together to solve a problem that exists in the society or in industry. Is what we call as the definition of a startup. So now we will have now starting a startup. So we are just so I've grouped certain. I've just taken a few points from different chapters as such, because these are basically big chapters. So in that I've taken few points so that you will have an overall idea of how to start a startup. So basically, yeah. So before starting the entire session, though I've given a speech on what innovation and stuff are, I would also like to introduce myself, my startup, and rest of the stuff. So Aurea is my venture, wherein it's a 360-degree management consultancy, which is into branding, marketing, IT, web development, HR management, and training process. This is our venture is basically my entrepreneurship is a service company which I've created, but my startup is called Likes, which is an innovation solving the problem of startups, employment, job seekers and employers. So Lights is my startup, which I've registered under KCM. Like that, FlexiCloud is also my startup. Again, it's a venture, a cloud management company. These are my startups basically, where I have another IT consultancy also called Digitalize also, but we are again into, that is a service-based company. Again, we have another thing called Orient Soul, which is into interiors and business event coordination stuff. So Lights is a startup which actually we have created as an innovative part with my teammates, which addresses problems of graduates, employers, and startups. Okay, so that's just a brief about what we are. And I am by profession, though I'm a civil engineer, by education wise, I'm a civil engineer, but professionally, I am a marketing strategist now. I'm a brand consultant too. So I help I'm a startup mentor and a startup coach too, which I help startups how to give them a roadmap, as well as how to help them rectify their flaws and support them in particular areas where they need additional help. Okay, so now before we speak on what are the you should understand what are the before we speak upon detail about startup, we should know what are the phases of startup. I think most of you, since you are associated to IEDC, you might have heard of it. The first one is idea generation. The other one is basically producing an MVP, and then it is basically you are scaling up, or so it's always a phase, product development, attraction stage. So there are basically 4 phases in a startup. It is, the first one is the idea generation, the second one is the product development, third one is basically the traction. That means how you have created a revenue out of your particular venture. And the fourth one is basically scaling up. This is how a startup actually, from phase to phase, it builds itself. So right now I am here to speak on a, Sachin said, it's a roadmap 1. So I'm here to speak on the idea generation stuff. So initially, what are the steps you have to do before you get into product building? And because product building is again a technical expertise where your team has to decide all those stuff, and traction is how your marketing people and your your advisories or whoever people are along with your team has to decide how are you going to make up the traction to a particular level, and so and so. Scaling is again you have to understand. You have to reach a mark to scale up first. So right now there is no much importance for that at this phase. So these are the phases. We will speak about the first phase called the idea generation. So I've already discussed about what my company is and what are the services we give. It's IT, branding, marketing, HR, and training solutions. Yeah. So I've already discussed what startup is. Startup is a new business with an innovative idea focused on growth with respect to their product. So this is a basic definition, but I have explained to you how the innovation can solve a problem of a community or an industry with their service or their product. See, one more thing is that a startup need not be only a product. It can be a service also, but it depends upon how you create the the innovation, or how you place it in the industry. Okay, that matters a lot. Now, as per Stanford school, startup is like a temporary organization designed to look for a business model that is repeatable and scalable. That's their definition. So, coming to idea generation. So, how is this idea created? We are talking about idea. See, it doesn't mean that any idea you bring upon like in movies we see now, every day we have full of ideas. So every kind of any era idea doesn't stand to build your startup. You have to have a thorough understanding, and you have to have a thorough background check of what exactly your idea is made up of. So otherwise, I don't know whether I've told you before also, I had failed twice in my startup. Okay, because there were a lot of points, I had a mentor like this, or I never I mean, in my time when I used to build up my startup, we never had these kind of sessions in details where we understand, okay, this is the structure we have to follow and stuffs like that. So I mean, that is the reason I kind of failed twice. So I'll tell you where and all I failed when I talk about the idea generations each phases. So the conceptualization. Let's come to conceptualization. Conceptualization. Yeah, conceptualization is basically, for example, right now, let's talk about the present scenario. There are so many things which we can do because entrepreneurs are facing problems. The people are facing problems because of COVID. So you can find out a solution in which, if you, for example, if you take newspapers, you can find there are so many ventures or so many startups those have come forward, creating this oxygen, solving the oxygen problem right now. So similar kind of like that. So this is a problem which is currently affecting, and startups are growing with an idea how to generate, how to give a solution to these problems. So that's a concept, the concept or the idea of how they're going to solve the problem, the idea. That's the conceptualization. So when you conceptualize, what happens is that you might have a number of idea, so much variations of it, so much perspectives of it, but how do you know that this idea sticks or not? So that there comes a point of called the feasibility. The feasibility in the sense like how you have to have a thorough check of have any industry have the industry seen a similar kind of problem before? Is it new? Is it see, now what I've said about corona is something which is very new to us, so that's a different scenario. So you have to have a feasibility is a thorough check where you have an outline of how your concept actually can exist in market, or it stands whether it stands a foot. So you have what you have to do is you have to check, like, do you find similar people who have done it? Has there been a success rate? So what is your how are you going to implement this thing, and what are the before the success point or the investments, you have to find what are the actual problems you yourself are going to face with this concept. Definitely when you implement a system, or when a concept is being converted into implementation, okay, you will 100% you will face problem. If you didn't face problem, that means your concept was not at all good. 100% if in implementation, if you don't find a number of problems, the concept was too bad actually. So that is a feasibility. And one more thing is there is another perspective. You might have worked so hard that implementation has become easy, because the implementation part you have because you have done a thorough feasibility and you have made the implementation part easy. In that case also, if the implementation part is going smooth, that means you have done your homeworks and you have done your process very beautifully. So so either you have done it totally bad, or you have done it too good. So, but still you might have minor problems in your way, which actually can be fixed very fast. So feasibility is that thing which is like we call it a check. It's a check where we understand that whether this particular concept will stand in the industry. Will we get traction? Can we if we build a product, especially with a lot of finance and stuffs and all. And one more thing, in the feasibility area, you also have to check about the finances. Where will you get your finances? Who are the ones who are funding it? Are you a bootstrapped one, or are you a VC funded one? So again, just an information regarding the funding of startups. There are two types of funding. Either you can have a bootstrap company where you create your startup of your own with your teammates. You are putting your money. It's every investment is yours. Mine is a bootstrapped company. All my companies are bootstrapped, but right now we are actually taking FlexiCloud to a VC funded supporting system. Now, for example, if you take many other platforms like Anwalk, so many people who have taken VC funding. like Bala Sarda. So many we see people who have invested on different kind of projects, and I'll tell you after post pandemic, the situation has changed so much that investors are ready to fund in the Indian system. Indian system means Indian startups, because they find that Indian startups are quite reliable, and they are funding. I mean, they are doing a lot of good solutions and stuff. So, and we can see so many unicorns developed in India itself. So many, for example, Meesho. So what I would the good point is that especially post pandemic or the 2020 to 21 has seen most of the investors funding in Indian startups. Okay, so that's something good for a startup who's yet to start, understanding the fact that you stand a chance, provided you keep a check on all these problems. Now the third one is a problem solving. So you have to make sure that your particular idea or a venture does have the innovation to solve the particular problem. It is rightly fixing this problem, rather than simply periphery beating the bush won't do. You have to understand that this actually solves a problem to the core, or at least it maybe not to the entire core, but at least it should give a solution to a community of people. So in that case, only your idea stands strong, because if it was only an idea, when you have a investor pitch, you'll be thrown out because your idea. See, I'm telling you all these things because if you ever make a pitch with any investor, your presentation should be in such a manner that, see, there's another class called the pitch, how to make a pitch. So maybe sometime later we'll have a class on that and we'll discuss on that, because I don't have time to elaborate that. But you should understand this sessions, because when you make a pitch, you'll have to understand this is a background study of how to make a pitch, background study. Okay. So when an investor understands that the concept and the problem solving doesn't match, there ends your pitch. You cannot take it further. So that is the reason why you should focus on the fact that the particular startup solves, the particular startup has conceptualized an idea in such a manner, it solves the problem of a community or a part of industry. Again, the next thing I discussed earlier, you have to do that. You have to check that whether you have done related. You have to check. You have checked some related ideas on it. A kind of research where you understand that somebody has done these kind of stuffs before and how they have succeeded. What was their USB? So you do a SWOT analysis. You will understand that, okay, what is your difference between them and yours? So that point, you also get see, it is good that you have some predecessors or people have done it before you, so that you will have an understand, okay, what is there, because they have solved your major problem of that particular that solution coming into the industry and how the industry has accepted them. Okay, so if you're new to it, like I said, the new innovations, they don't know how the industry is going to accept them. But in case of sustainable innovations, we already know that this idea has been taken by the industry. So then what are the obstacles they have faced? So we can actually provide solution to all those. It's easy for us because we have a structure. Somebody has done it before. So that is the reason why you have to go for a related idea researchers. Now, next is a USB of the idea. So you must have one unique selling point, which any of your competitor or any of the people who are working on the same solution of a particular sector does not have. So you should have that particular. So you see, might not be that your USB is completely totally different from others. It might belong to a category, but even in category also you have to make up your catch. What is your catch? Like, what is your that particular element? That's, in other words, we call it startup element. So you have to create a startup element for your. So these now then the next comes. So these particular point from conceptualization to the USB is all regarding how you make the structure of your particular startup. Okay, you have to make you bought your team somebody bought a concept. Your team members had a brainstorming session on it. You understand that, okay, you have targeted a particular audience or a community that you're solving their problems, and then you have checked the feasibility of it. You have identified that your concept would definitely solve the problems of this particular community. Other than that, you have done related research on this particular aspect, that how strong the particular solution stands. You have also identified your USP, and you have displayed what is your unique selling point. So these are the strong conceptualization you have done for your startup. Now the next point is how you implement your idea. So actually this implementation actually comes in the second part, though since I can't elaborate it, so I added into the same phase itself. So idea generation is all these points. Implementation of idea is actually, you can talk it as you can actually categorize into a different format where it is implementing, or you can actually as a phase of pre-phase of the product development stage. Also you can actually talk about implementation, where you can speak about here how I have written is how to implement your idea. Okay, this is not about the actual implementation part, it is about how to implement the idea. So in the idea generation part itself, you have to have an understand how are you going to implement the idea. Like I said, I had all these conceptualization, feasibility, problem solving related ideas in USB, everything I had. But during my idea generation, I didn't go for this, how to implement my idea in a very strong phase. That is the reason why I failed in my first venture. So now the next is the phase 2. It's, see, these are the same thing of the basic structuring. So I'm just speaking about, I'm not this entire structure, the PPT does not contains of the 4 phases, like I've already mentioned you: idea generation, product development, traction, scaling up. I am speaking about the idea generation part. That would be the roadmap one. So product development or MVP would be a different session, traction would be a different session, and scalability would be a different session. So we are speaking about the idea generation, about the the conceptual part of it, under which the idea generation, the phase 1 is basically the first point itself is idea generation. So under idea generation would be these stuff, and then it would be the additional accessory supplements which we need for building up a startup. So you know that if you create a product, there's a huge difference between product and a brand. A brand is that something which gets recognition faster, and a brand is again having something which a product doesn't have, because it has an identity of its own. It has a brand tone, it has a brand identity, but which a product doesn't have, because a product like that, a product might, a number of products might be there. So a brand is something which has created a big shout in the industry, where they have created their own brand identity. So this branding, I'm speaking about creating a branding collaterals. Okay, I'm just talking about how you create it. That is where the first part called brand identity comes. Brand identity is a process in which you design your logo, a logo which is actually having the idea which actually you are trying to replicate. The idea which you are trying to implement, that should be replicated in your logo. Which somewhere, some idea, some connection should be there between you and your startup and your logo. Then in brand identity, we'll be having a brand tagline. For example, my company is Aurea, designing visions into reality. In case of Likes, my startup, the tagline is transforming talents into skills. So like that wise, you have to create a slogan or a tagline. For example, Nike's, it is let's do it. So every brand tries to create a tagline of its own, which you cannot change basically, because that is your tagline. So anything that you do in branding should be such with such a punch that you cannot change it, because once you become a brand, that is with you. So that is the reason why you have to do branding very carefully, and you have to give it to an expertise who is actually good in it, rather than there's a huge difference between again branding and design. Like I said, there's a huge difference between a brand and a product. So branding is something which actually gives you, rather than climbing the, snake and ladder thing. So branding is a ladder actually. If you create branding in a proper way, it's a ladder which helps you to climb the steps. Okay, so that is now brand collaterals. What are brand collaterals? So brand collaterals are basically two types: business collaterals and marketing collaterals. But again, business collaterals are also called as brand collaterals. So in business collaterals, what we have is right now we discussed brand identity, where we have a logo, a brand tagline, a brand tone, the colors in which we use it. Generally, we don't use more than 3 colors, or it's always we go for 2 colors and a variant of that 2 colors. Maybe the shades might be different. That's it. But the primary colors will be only 2. Okay, that is regarding the creation of a logo, how a brand is, a brand tone, brand color palette comes off, and that the color palette means the color which we are using in that particular logo. Okay, then that is brand identity, brand tone came, brand slogan came, the logo came. Then you will be having a brand guidelines. Okay, the do's and the do nots of the when you use your logo, it should be like this. It should not. There are so many do's, so many kind of guidelines which you have to follow when you build a brand. So that is these are the 4 pivotal areas which you have to consider while you create a brand identity. Now next comes, like I said, we're talking about brand collaterals or business collaterals, which comes like, you have a visiting card, a business card, what is it called? The letter pad, the invoice, the envelopes, the merchandise, like, cup, caps, all those things. Those are different category, but again, they also comes under the business collateral only. Now, once you create all these stuffs, the other thing is called the marketing collaterals. Marketing collaterals, as we know, what the collaterals or the particular elements through which you sell your product, or you get the attention of the people. Like, you have to have a you have to have a company profile of what your company is doing. Okay, what is into it. So it's a general identity of your company, that you are these many, your particular, that should highlight your company, basically your team members, what are the services you do. But you can create another product profile or a service profile of your company, where you specify more of kind of your services. So company profile and a service profile are 2 different stuffs. You can create either service profile if yours is a service industry, or you can go for a product profile, yours is a product industry. So then you can create WhatsApp presentation, because WhatsApp presentation is something which is in the new age. In the new age, it is a thing that actually works even more than the email ones. Then you can create what is it? Even for different kind of particular. If suppose, for example, you have got different kind of products, or different, for example, in my case, when even in a particular sector itself, we have got different subsectors. So we created brochures differently for it, like, service brochure or product brochures. So you can create enough number of e-brochures for it. Other than that, you can have the hoarding, the signage patterns and all those things. Whichever you have seen the hoardings, while you go to the runways, railway station platforms, and on the roads you can see the hoardings, and even in metros and all, you can see the lid boards and stuff like that. So these are the designs which actually market your company. So these are the designs which we create to market a particular. So these comes under the marketing collateral. So now we have things which actually you give to others, so that they understand who we are, because we cannot speak hours and hours of what our company is and what, because people might not be interested. Visual representation is something which actually catches people's eyes. So that is the reason why we have created all these brand business collaterals and marketing collaterals. So once a brand, why we are doing this branding initially itself, because it gives you a mileage. Like I said, the ladder. Okay, so even an individual, before he if he's one, before making his team, because a team is something which you have to choose very wisely. So what people do is that people actually go for a team first. So you can go for team first if your wavelength and idea matches to that level. So maybe 2 members can start, or 3 members, and then they have to they have to go to they have to create this branding of their stuff. So it again depends upon startup, ventures to ventures, where they go for building team first, building other finance and other stuff first, then they go for branding. So it's, according to me, it's always better you create this stuff first, because you have something to show people when you are trying to bring a team in, or when you are trying to tell your CAs or a financial person, this is what you're going to do, this is what we have. But initially you will have to have the amount for branding, and your I mean you have to have the money for the basic branding stuff, where along with branding, the financial perspective also should be considered. And then, like I said, according to me, teams should be selected once you can actually have a idea of whom your team members are going to be. But unless you make it in paper, unless you're making it on a register or on a legal aspect, you have to wait and you have to see this whether the team member, because team members actually play a very important role in creating a startup. So see, yeah, like I said, see, this phase 2 and phase 3, people actually it's kind of like some take it as 2 and the other take it as 3. So it differs. I prepared according to what I feel is more reliable. So identify the co-founders. There are so many CXOs. So basically, there are so many 25 or 30 kind of different positions. But generally, what we most of the time we use is a CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. That is a person who actually is most probably he or she'll be the founder of it. They know how to execute the system. Then there'll be a Chief Operation Officer. So basically, they deal with the day-to-day operation of the system. Okay, executive officer looks for a long-term process of the system. Operation person handles the day-to-day affairs of the operation system. And there will be a CTO who will be handling the technical part of the system. He will be the Chief Technical Officer. Then there will be a CAO, a Chief Administrative Officer, who will be handling the administration parts. Then there will be a CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. Then there will be a CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. These 6 are the main people who are required in a CXO post. Other than that, you can add so many people like Chief Development Officer, Chief Communication Officer, Chief Business Officer, like that. There are so many other posts, which CXO posts, which you can add accordingly where you feel. But you have to see that whether this particular person is right for that post, because a marketing person only can handle the CMO post. Otherwise, it would be a flop. And a technical person only can handle the CTO post. So you have to figure out the position who actually is best for the which post. Now the registration part. So again, just to mention, when you go for this idea generation and the branding stage, you yourself have to go for an individual financial aspect, to understand that how much I'll have to put. Not taking the, if you want, you can take the help of a CA or a before you having a CFO in your system, you can take a outside support of a CA consultancy who can CA or a financial consultancy who can help you to give you a real picture of how much you'll have to put it from your side, or how much you have to collect from the rest of the people to build up your system. And these are the expenses you'll be meeting for building this venture of yours. So it is good that you, though I have not mentioned, and I'm not mentioning in this slide, I'm just telling you, along with the branding phase, you also have to consult a CA person or a financial consultant who actually gives you a right picture of how your finance is going to go into different buckets. Like, we should have different buckets, because that is a second perspective where I failed in the second time, because my though everything was good, I didn't go for the financial part. I thought that I could manage it, but I spent more money on things which could have been kept at a hold, and I could have spent that money. But most of the times it happens, what happens with the startup is that they spend too much money in the initial phase, but when it comes on the final stage, what happens is that they won't be having money. So that is an area where we have to understand that where we have to put money in, how much ratio we have to put the money, and that and all. It's better you have a consultation of a CA or a finance company. I just forgot to mention it. I think the slide slipped over. So that's something where that also is a phase 2 part only, which comes along with it. And then the phase 3, then the same financial person, you can actually, they might have a legal consultancy along with the financial consultancy, or you have to go for a corporate compliance company, which will help you for this. Because never do registration by yourself, that gets into too much complications. You can go for a service of a corporate compliance company, where you can register your startup as a partnership company, as a private limited company, a limited liability company, a sole proprietorship, one person type of company, Section 8 company. Section 8 company is it's a different format system. It's basically more of a kind of an organization system. So you have to choose which type of registration you want. Mine is a private limited company. So different people go for different. FlexiCloud was initially a partnership company, which we merged into again a private limited company. So like that, it depends upon there are rules and conditions for every kind of sector. So in case of private limited company, there are a lot of fees and money you have to put it across. But again, private limited company has got a lot of leverage. On a brand perspective, it gives you a lot of mileage and stuff. But again, in terms of money, partnership doesn't have, it doesn't needs to pay much money to the government and other organization, other than, because it is partner. So there is that particular phase. I think a legal person, I could suggest, I could tell you a legal person's reference or something who could help you to give you detail on this financial and registration part. Okay. Now the marketing phase. Now, how do you market this thing? Because right now you have created collaterals. Branding doesn't mean you're marketing it. You have just created the best of the best collaterals. So right now what you have done, you have got a great concept. You have done your thorough checks. You have created a collaterals of your own. You have created a team of your own. You have done the company's legal structure, legal compliances and stuff. Now, what do we do? Now we have to enter into the market. How do you enter into the market? You do have the collaterals. You have to see, with only having the collaterals doesn't let you enter the market. You have to sneak into the market. You have to first understand what is the market trend, what is the market's present scenario. So that for that you have to do a marketing research to understand anything and everything of the market related to your particular startup or your particular product or your particular service. Once that is done, you go for a marketing strategy. Now, if you ask me, the most important element which I would say in any startup is, other than your technical perspective, it is a marketing strategy. Because most of the company, though is technically very fine, but they'll always lack this particular element called marketing strategy. You don't have the right strategy, trust me, you cannot get into the market, and you cannot get your audience, targeted audience right. In your sales funnel, and you cannot actually generate revenue. So this is a particular fact which actually helps you to create revenue. Your sales funnel is actually connected to the most important element is the marketing strategy. So once your marketing strategy is being decided, with that particular strategy, we do the marketing implementation. So if your marketing strategy is good, that means your marketing implementation would replicate that, and you will generate revenue. If it is not good, that means your strategy was not good. Sometimes it doesn't mean that initially you have done the strategy, but the time and the scenario also matters. Same strategy I developed initially at 2000 failed pretty bad, but the same thing when I implemented in 2020, it made halla. So that actually means that that time it was not apt, but this time it is apt. So again, so that is the reason why when you do a strategy, you should be thorough, that you keeping the conditions and keeping the scenarios in your mind, you have to devise a strategy. Okay. And sometimes a trial and error method also help. It is not that, you know, the first strategy strikes. You have to do few strategies in which you go for a trial and error steps, and basically for sure, if you're very good at what you do, within the third thing, you will hit it up. Now, another factor is called the association. It is always good you associate with some companies or some ventures or some like minds who are not your competitors again, who are actually, maybe you can actually, if it is yours is a marketing company, you can actually take help of the companies who are into marketing, but not only on the category, not on the same particular stuff you're doing. Okay. So you can actually compile with, for example, if I take, I have been associated with so many other companies. For example, my corporate compliance company, I don't do corporate compliance in my company, but I have associated with them such that any particular people come to my system, I help, I give them to these people, and in turn, this corporate compliance company give me again sales from different other sectors, their clients in their circle, whoever needs branding and other IT works, they come back to us. It's a give and take system, like a barter thing. You give them together collaborating, because today the new normal is basically association business. So you have, if you one more thing, association business also is a huge risk, because choosing your association is also a big problem. Like I said, it was not finance alone that actually gave me a big blow. In the second time, it was again association also, because we trust people. Ultimately, they are not responsible. If they cannot meet at the right time, you know, you will be held responsible for that, and that will eventually end up to your disaster of your venture. So yeah, so then more associates you, it's not on the numbers actually, it is on the quality of the associates you build that help you to flourish your business. Okay, now I'll just talk about some challenges in startup. Usually challenges is always financial management and building rapport with your team or with your customers or with the associates. So these are the two pivotal areas where huge changing will be there. Other than that, one more point is there, basically the marketing strategy. That is also one pivotal element. Like I said before, also particular strategy actually is connected to your sales funnel. So that is the area where you will find challenges. So financial management, like I said, you have to have a support of a CA or a financial consulting firm, or any individual who's good at finance. Building a rapport is again something you should have. I would suggest that always in your team, or you should have a girl in your system, because girls are more, you know, they could talk in a pious, in a gentle, and in a patient way, rather than if you put boys. So basically, the coordination, customer care, and rapport system, it's always better that there is a girl in your team. And marketing strategy, like I said, there should be a super core person who has a broader, who has a thought process which works on a broader perspective. Like, you know, he can find the niche. Detailing should be his expertise or her expertise. So if that detailing can be done, you will find a very good marketing strategy to finish your challenges. To dissolve your challenges. Then generating hold in the market. That is also connected to the marketing part only. This is another format of marketing strategy itself. Once you have a good marketing strategy, you will have a generation. I mean, the revenue generation, what you will be having in the market. That depends again on the marketing strategy only, and the implementation. Two factors. So this is more about a implementation stuff. Then the cyber security, that is a website security and the other stuffs. And in branding, I forgot to mention the IT part also is something very much important, wherein you should have a website, and in the branding collateral itself, the marketing collateral, the website is a very important thing, because that is a key window of your targeted audience to come to you and figure it out, how your targeted audience come to you through your website only, and that is the only area where we can show and display all our credentials, all our ideas, all our USBs and stuffs like that. So then you should have a good IT support team for the web maintenance, web security, cyber security, all these things. So by cyber security, what I mentioned is the IT support. Okay, many a times IT. You don't have the lack of the right IT. Most of the startup fails. So IT is something which is very, very, again, important. So this particular factor related to IT, you have to create a very good IT team, or you can take a support from an IT consultant who can actually help you with your website maintenance. So if you've created a website, it's fine. You can actually take the web maintenance support, wherein you can clear it up, or you can rebrand your website. You can do a lot of steps wherein you can actually promote your sales funnel more strong. Partnership decision making, that is a big thing. Like I said, the co-founder stuff. How do you decide that this particular person how do I make sure that this particular person is right for the being a partner? So that is an area where you have to have a if you have an advisory committee, it would be great, where they are experienced people, they're expert people who can help you with this part. Then the HR thing, the resources. For example, if I tell you my pack is my strength, so I'm the strength of my pack, and the strength of me is my pack. I mean, that Mowgli's dialogue. It's something like that, right? Yeah, I'm the strength of my pack, and the strength of me is my pack. So the resources is something very, very pivotal in building a the startup or a venture or an organization or whatever entrepreneurship saga. The team is very, very important. The resources you should have talented people in it, though you can make them skilled with your expertise, or eventually they'll become skilled. But the talented people is very, very important. Now, it's not only talent, you also have to check that whether these people are committed, responsible, and they are loyal to the system. You have these 4 factors: talent, responsibility, committedness, and kind of loyal to the system. Then this part of figuring the right team would not be a great task. Now, extensive competition. Definitely, when however you create a particular product or a service or anything you bring up in market, you will have to face competition, because every market is new entrepreneurs are coming every single day. So and already there are people who are already existing, the big brands. So you will have to have a extensive competition of them. But if your USP is strong, and if your particular startup or your service or your product is giving a solution to a particular set of problems that has been relevant in the society, then definitely this extensive competition to an extent can be taken care of. Yeah, I think that's it. So that is the roadmap thing which you have to understand on a preliminary phase. This is what you have to understand while you are going to start a startup. I mean, not after starting a startup, okay? After starting a startup, like I said, now the next phase is a product development. The third one would be traction. Fourth one would be scaling up. So that is mostly for the entrepreneurs. Or once you create a startup, that is for them. Or it is good you take that session also to have a complete understanding of like where is the end point coming up. But this would be I would say that this is the basic understanding you should have before you get into the startup venture. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, ma'am. So myself, Suraj, CTO of IDC Vast.
Okay.
And I just need to know what's the difference between its startup and a traditional business. So
Good. Yeah, that's a very important question. Have I talked in last class? No. Okay. The difference between traditional business and a startup is that traditional business is kind of, see, traditional business does not need to have an innovative element or sparky element. It is not a, you can't call it an innovation. It's just a service which is normally happening in the industry, which people need that kind of services. For example, any service company which is providing service to the industry or to people, they are doing a basic traditional business only, wherein, but the innovative part you are bringing into the particular system makes it different. So startup is actually something which solves a problem. Like I said, a community of people are facing a particular problem. So that not only a community, maybe an industry, maybe something already, like that is what I said, different type of innovation I mentioned. So regarding traditional business, they don't count all these factors. They are doing a service in which they are expert. They provide that service. They're not looking about what is the innovation they're trying to build. There is no particular, it need not be innovative. That would be the exact definition. Services, they might service, or a traditional business might have services or products which is on a normal go, wherein it might have innovation, it might not have innovation. But in case of a startup a system, it definitely should have a innovative element or a particular startup element for it to run. Traditional business may or may not have it. So that is a basic difference.
yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And if anybody have any questions,
yeah, please do so.
Ma'am, there's a question on the chat box.
Sure. At the beginning, should we look into future aspects as well to resist our startup failure? For sure, Rahul, definitely. That's why I said, see, we can't go in detail of the future aspects, but definitely we have to keep in mind about what is the end product we are coming to. Okay, then only our goal or our target or our roadmap exactly would be precise. Otherwise, how would you know what is the future aspect? What actually you're aiming at? See, you are starting it with something, with an idea, but you don't know where it's leading you. What is the end product? Where is your gate? Which is that particular tala you have to open? I mean, the lock you have to open. So if you don't know that, definitely there is a huge risk you are facing with your startup. So I would suggest that you should have a futuristic aspect of where exactly you should have everything. Like, in 5 years, what your company will be. In first year, what will be doing? What are the solutions you would be finding for challenges like I've listed out there. Definitely will come. So how are you going to face it? So for all these things, the futuristic aspect is very much required, right? So I think if you're not keen in solving those problems, the startup would fail. That is the reason why most of the startups, though they're having very good ideas, they haven't you read about it, how startups fail pathetically? See, sometimes the professionals, the people behind it may be very expert professionals. Maybe they have got all kind of supports. Even sometimes the team might be best, but the problem is that, like I said, now we are not looking into the end product of it. We're not entirely seeing we are not seeing the entire picture of it. So though in future many scenarios might change, but you should have a backup plan for it. For that, it is compulsory that you know that what exactly your venture is leading to, and where, I mean, what would be the output and the end product of it. Hope you got the answer, Rahul. Yeah. Anyone else? In investors, what will be they looking for mainly? Is it idea? How is it? Yes, Govind. In case of investors' point of view, they'll be looking. See, it depends upon different stages. Okay, if it is in the ideation stage or the what do you call the first stage? Right now, what I've been discussing you. If you have a good idea and you're just going for a pitch for a VC stuff, then definitely they'll be looking about the idea, how good the idea is, how good they can implement all that what I've said right now. If you can crack those particular points in an investor's eye, definitely for ideation phase, the investor would be interested. But if you're going for a second phase called the product development, they'll be looking about how good the product has been technologically, how good it has been made, or how good this product implemented in the industry, how to what far extent it can solve the problem, and what is its feasibility. That is regarding the product development. Regarding the traction, when you go for a scale up, so that's a ideation phase investment. Then then comes a product based investment. The third is a scale up grants. The scale up funds. Scale up funds is basically for a startup which has already created a traction. So the third phase is you have to create a traction with your venture, where you have to create this much revenue out of your venture. And if you have created that much revenue for a scale up of, if you're looking for a scale up fund, definitely the traction factors would help you. So in the scale up stuff, the people, the investors would be morely looking on the team and the traction they have generated. But in case of the first stuff, ideation, they would not be looking up for the team. It's basically on the idea itself. In case of the product phase, people would be looking at, the investors would be looking at what, how relevant is your product in the market compared to the earlier products that has been built on the same category of stuff like that. So each phase, the investors' eyes are different perspective. And one more thing, this changes according to individual also. Okay, but in generic, what I've said is that applies. Yeah. So thank you, Govind. That was a good question, actually. Okay. You said you have failed twice in your startup. May I know the reason behind that, the factors behind that loss? Very good question, Rahul. I always emphasize on my failures more than my success. Every time people ask me about my success, I always like people to, I would always love people to ask me about my failures, because failures are those stepping stones which led you to success. Because that vigor and that passion, it made you, there's a statement by Madame Marie Curie, you should kill it what has tried to kill you. So that is something closely connected to our integrity, individuality, our professional part, all those stuff. So yeah, to be precise on your question, why I failed. It was because initially that idea generation stage, I showed you most of the stuff, but the last point, implementation part, I didn't have a structure of the implementation part. I didn't create a futuristic aspect on that. Before that, I implemented my concept. So I didn't have a correct roadmap or the structure for it when it came to an implementation part. Before implementing it, I didn't create an exact roadmap of what my future aspect would be. That is the same thing you asked me, at the beginning, should we look into the future? That was the particular reason why I failed for the first time. The second time I failed was that because of the associations I had, wherein I trusted the people to give the vendors the money, but unfortunately, since we were connected to the vendors, we had to pay them money, which ended up in a huge financial loss. So I would say that the second time the venture failed only was because of the association. The rest of the thing, implementation, all were good. But yeah, the IT, the second time also, we never had a very good IT. I mean, the backup of IT was not that very good. It was kind of, just okay. It was more kind of like a marketing based company with good, but the IT part was not that huge with us. But when my partner Vinod Chako came in, the IT became very strong. So that was one of the strongest pillar actually. along with the marketing strategies. When the IT also collaborated or combined with it, the team. So I would say that the third time my team was right, my implementation was right, everything, and even the time was right for us. So I think that was a thing which which took us to great success. And I believe that even so, most of the times what happens is that 2 times fail, when you fail and all, people would give up. I never gave up. That is the reason why third time when it came, I was very cautious with every particular detail I was taking into the team, the association, the implementation part. I would create a structure. So that is the reason why, see, why I'm giving you this explanation class is because this is a roadmap for me itself. Before I'm explaining to you, I have gone through it, I've understood it, I have taken into my professional system this particular criteria, which I try to implement in my own system, which became a success. That is the reason why I'm just explaining you this structure, so that you don't fail in whatever you do. You don't need to fall into those pits which I have fallen. So the second time which I failed was definitely the association part, and my team wasn't that, I mean, the management or my co-founder team was not that very strong. It was again me and my mother and one CTO. It was initially that was our basic the director's board. But now our director board is very strong with all different kind of experts in it. CFOs are there, CTO is there, CEO is there, all technical expertise, financial experts. So that makes our stream very strong. And this I have eventually figured out in due course of time whether they are good for me. I've met so many people, I've tried with many, but I took my third time I was very choosy, very picky, like I took time to incorporate them into my system. So you have to be very careful with the team as well as your implementation stuff. So first time was implementation, second time was team and association. That's the reason I failed. Third time I meant it, I fixed all the problems, which gave me success. So I hope, Rahul, I gave you a detailed answer for it. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. Yeah. Your questions are quite good, okay, because I really understand that somewhere you have understood what the point is all about. Okay, Sachin, how becoming an entrepreneur? Oh my God, Sachin, that's a Zordar question, okay. Entrepreneur has changed my life in every aspect, even personally too. I have become more kind of, organized. I have become more kind of futuristic. I've become more a kind of planner. Though I was organized, but my planning was pathetic. My time management was seriously a big flaw of my, very big flaw. So so many elements has many not elements, I would say that many many good characters were actually incorporated within me, and many of those things which had to be enhanced, that got enhanced. And yeah, now I think that it feel, and you actually feel good when people say that you're successful, when you get awards, when you get recognition, when you see yourself in newspapers, when TEDx calls you, when Josh calls you, you get that goose bumps where okay, once upon a time you have failure, but today you have made it. So the individual within you has changed, and it gives you a strong a strong feeling that you have done something great. Okay, you never gave up, and you were right. So that the instincts you had followed, so I always follow my instincts now, because my instincts have proved right. Even when the whole world stood against me, I never got away from my instincts. I followed it, and today, see, I've made it. So I think I believe in my soul like anything. So as an entrepreneur, I'm very, very positive. That's the biggest, if you ask me, tell me one point that has changed in you, if just a single point, if you ask me, rather than all these elaborations, I would say that I've become more positive. I believe in myself more after being an entrepreneur. Biggest achievement is yet to come, Sachin. I don't think I've crossed the biggest achievement what I want to cover up. I think I would like to take one the startup. Oriya is again my innovative company. Only we have it is not a it is a startup, but again you can't call it as a product. So Likes is one of our products. So what Oriya has been doing as of now is more a kind of a service-oriented kind of stuff. So right now only we have designed our product. So we are looking for creating more and more products in our system, so that we cover up every sector we could. We could touch. How do we know if a team is not doing well on? Definitely, if you're a good intellectual person, or what, if you have a common sense, you will identify it, because a team needs a lot of collaborative thought process. People need to be responsible. Each assignment or a task that has been given to them, they actually go in deep and they find time to solve it. If your team member is not doing that from the beginning, make sure that that particular person is not suitable for you. It's all on the responsibility, Govind. Responsibility and commitment they show when you are actually budding your startup up. So the people who contribute towards the system, sometimes people might be talented, but they don't contribute. Sometimes people do a lot of hard work, a lot of stuff, but they are not talented, or they don't belong to, technically they don't belong to the system. So in both the aspects, the team can fail. So you have to look both, whether the particular person who has been given that particular profile, like, you know, he's supposed to handle tech, or she's supposed to handle marketing or something like that. So each profile that has been given to that particular team, the CXO or the team, the main team, the management team, if they are doing it if they are talented to do that particular stuff, it's well and good. The second thing is that, are they committed to it, or are they responsibly doing it? That is the second element. If they are doing it both properly, then that person is good for your team. See, there might be minor problems and all, but other than that, if they are going good, they are fine. But in these both aspects, if you don't find them talented for that particular post, or they are not being responsible, or they're not taking their work seriously, then trust me, they are not the people for your team. Ma'am, now that you know how it works and you have certain future, do you state? Oh, sweetheart. I don't know whether I'll become a unicorn. See, I don't believe in this unicorn thing. Trust me, seriously. I had a debate with one of my startup system, where somebody was asking me the same question, like, you know, you have one of the strongest promising company in your system. Tell me, what is your startup element? So that was a question shooted by one of my friend. Though he knows what exactly our startup element is, and he knows every detail of it, but the question was that he was trying to put up a just a triggering point where I don't know why he put up that question after he knowing exactly what we do in detail. So that time he said that ours is a service company. In case of the startup element, there's just startup element. That was the question. So that was something kind of why I put this question is that why I put this conversation or this scene into it is that because that is connected to the question you asked. So there also, so he was telling that this particular group is a farming place of unicorns. So trust me, I'll tell you one thing. The unicorn thing and all, if you, it's not that you have to take yourself as a unicorn or something. There are so many industries who are not unicorns, but they are doing so good. The service sectors, they are doing so good. It does not mean that you have to bring a AI, MI, everything like that. The community or the society or the industry is a mix of so many people. Everybody has to do their part. If everybody is competing on the unicorn on stuff, how would this how would this ecosystem grow? So I would suggest that if I become unicorn, well and good. But my point is to create a disruption or a change in the total ecosystem, wherein more and more entrepreneurs come in together. India, because India is a country which is so much pooled with talents. Earlier, I was an NRI, and trust me, I never, when I was in my college, I never wanted to be in the Indian system. I wanted to go abroad. I want to work there. I love the ambience there. I love the way they live, all those things. I was never that. It's not about the patriotic thing. It is about, like every other professional who like to the brain drain stuff. But today, if you ask me, okay, Anuja, if you do, would you like to just come across Dubai? Because I was based in Dubai before this, before starting my venture out here. So many asked me, can you locate to Australia and stuff like that. Today, people, if anybody asks me, I would not relocate anywhere from Kerala, because I find Kerala the best market, because if I have succeeded here, I can succeed in any part of the world. And the infrastructure expense out here is comparatively low than any other market. So why to spend too much? And one more thing, you have your people here, and like I said, India and even Kerala is a pool of talents. You just need to identify the associates, the people whom you collaborate with. They're all so good. You just need to identify the niche area where you want to focus. You definitely can do a lot of stuff. So again, you asked that unicorn thing. My idea is not becoming a unicorn. My idea is to become a change maker, where people would say that, okay, this lady has created a change in the ecosystem where she's a contributor. I want to be a contributor. And in that phase of contribution, if I become a unicorn, definitely I would love that. That is an added advantage. Okay, Vinay has a question. What all the strategies did you take to tackle the competition with any companies? Yeah, Vinay, that is a very good question. Trust me, initially the race of a startup or a venture or any organization, or when they start in the beginning, they are on the race to build their venture. Okay. Now, in my so that was my initial race. From being a failure to make it success, that was the first race. Then the second race was actually to stay in that limelight. You have created a success. Now you have to maintain those standards. So I always look upon my other competitors, how they do it. I appreciate every competitor of mine. You know what? I don't try to find. Even in my team meetings, I tell all my members or staffs or associates, focus on the strength of that particular competitor. Don't focus on their flaws. Their flaws doesn't matter to us, but definitely their strength matter to us, because that strength we might not have incorporated in the system. You figure that strength out. Let's actually enhance that strength and incorporate it in your system. So that SWOT analysis makes us the best of the best. So I keep on looking at my competitors always in a positive note. So whenever they bring up something new or something very good, and an element that is adding some worthwhile to their industry, I keep that in my mind and I create something better than that and incorporate in my system, because I need to be in that competitive. I am in the competitive market. No, I need to be the best. Nothing less than the best can. I can't afford nothing less than the best. So that is one strategy which I follow up to be in that race. Yes. Vinay, I think I've answered your question thoroughly. Anyone else? Okay. Ma'am, which strategy makes your business more successful? Okay. Sanjit, actually, we cannot, you cannot take it, give that answer in one statement or one particular strategy. It depends upon every strategy we we try to implement in the system. But basically, if you ask in a simple way, I would say that the best marketing strategy I follow is that I try to be the best in everything what I do. So I try to do very good market research on every particular verticals we handle with, and I try to study what are the innovations my competitor or the competitor doesn't, for me, competitors doesn't are not confined to Kerala only, not confined to even India. So I look on a global basis, what are the innovations the particular people have made on their on particular verticals all across the world. So whatever that suits to me. See, every marketing, every strategy which every other person has done cannot we cannot implement into our system, because depending upon scenarios, depending upon country, depending upon people, depending upon the target audience, it differs. Like example, we say, we actually use rat poison for rats and cockroach hit and those stuffs sprays for the cockroaches. What if we go the opposite way? Then it fails. We have to use the right strategy for the right people. So it again depends upon all those particular things on the research we come across. We try to see that what are the feasibilities in our system. Even in Kerala or India itself, again, I have my own limitation when it comes to my own venture. So I make sure that whatever the feasibility approaches, what I can take in inside my system, I only do that. Because I don't want to bring in anything that actually becomes that actually vibrates that pillars of my system. Because I'm very like I said, I am very obsessed about my venture. So anything and anybody which actually creates disturbance in my system is a great threat to me. So that even I include me also in that system. If I created a disturbance into the system, that will affect my venture. So I make sure that whatever strategies I implement from the researchers I have made, that is feasible to my system. My biggest if I on a strategy basis, my biggest the role model would be A.R. Rahman, because I believe that his songs are different, not because he created something created something totally different. Every essence of music he has created from different kinds of music, maybe Russian, maybe Spanish. You take any people say that he's a copycat. No, he's not a copycat. What he did is that he bought the essence from everything and he added his spark to it. When he added his spark to it, you know what? We see what the mighty A.R. Rahman is, or what his music is all about. If you take, if people when they listen to his music, the difference or the freshness he brings to that thing. But every essence of the music is the same. The notes are the same. Likewise, every service, every entrepreneur, the category is same. So the basic what is that? Basic providing service would be same. The way in which they give, or the way in which they present, or the way in which they implement, that makes the difference. So that is actually where I put my strategy on. So I hope, Sanjit, you got the answer. The brand name and its logo plays a vital role in bringing your identity. How did it reach Oriya and what does it mean? Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Rahul, for asking that question. For anything it comes to Oriya, that is something, which I love about. Okay. Oriya means, it's a Greek word. It means mountain. Okay. So I have never changed this name from the beginning. Okay, even when I failed twice also, I kept the name Oriya itself, because I know this company would come up. I knew the name I have chosen was the right word. Oriya is a Greek word which means mountain. I have connected, the concept is basically a mountain is something where you climb. Each time you get exhausted, sometimes you fail, but ultimately you reach the tip. And that's called success. So for Oriya, to me, it is success. So if you take my entrepreneurial saga or my life journey connected to my venture, I have always climbed, I have fallen, I have climbed, but I reached the tip of it. And if you check in Oriya's logo, you will find a bird, a phoenix. That's exactly the founder me. Each time I got ruptured, I got slaughtered, I got people said that, oh my God, she might be a good professional, but she can never make up to a good entrepreneur. She cannot do it. Okay, so I heard many people said that my business model was wrong because I tried to incorporate different kind of verticals to it. Actually that business model is my success. I had perseverance, I had patience to wait till a point where everything would come in at the right thing. And today, since I have branding, those people who take branding come to IT. Some people who take IT come to me for branding, or some people take my marketing strategies for their association. So any client come to it goes through our every vertical process. So we have opened like a supermarket. Anything they come for one service, they take up all the service and go, because they rely upon, they know that we take our responsibility very serious. So actually, I became a success because of the same business model what people said was wrong, or the big mentors, or big the people who are veterans in the field. They said that, why are you focusing on everything? No, I am focusing on everything because I'm a woman. I'm a multitasker. I can manage it. I found a perfect team. I took time to create, I took time enough to create my right team. Every task has been allocated to different CXOs where they do it so beautifully. Today we made it up a success. And yes, the bird is exactly me, because I believe I'm a phoenix. I will never ever give up, and I don't believe in giving up. Personally, I'm a person like that. And one more point, what Sachin said, that he asked me about never giving up. One more point is there, Sachin. Being an entrepreneur, what changed in me? Not only it is not the positive aspect, and I'm very positive. That part is there, but other than that, I have understood that whoever say anything, whatever they say, you should never pay any attention to that, because nobody can demotivate you. It is only you who can stand by you, and maybe the God, no one else. If that part you believe strong, and the element what I'm trying to tell is that I became strong because out of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneur has made me a very strong person. Personality wise also, I became a strong person. Initially I was kind of very emotional and stuff like that. But today, entrepreneurship is a blend of me being emotional and being very practical. I've struck the balance between being practical and being emotional. So I keep my humane thing along with the what do you call, the practical implementation, the technical aspect. Yes, anything? Yeah, best view comes after the hardest climb. Very much, Rahul. You gave the perfect statement to it. Thank you so much. I would add this whenever I'll go for a next speaker session. I'll add this thing. Somebody has told me this best view come from the hardest climb. I loved it. Huh? Yes. The strength of my company. The strength of my company, to be very honest, are my people. Trust me, more than any other technical aspects, any other element, if I would say, everything, because our competitors have got everything. They also have got the technical expertise maybe, but for me, it's all about my people. The way my people, my today's structure, my today's partners, my today's staffs. They're never exhausted. They're never tired. Anytime I give them a call, listen, we have to do this thing. My pack, my strongest element would be my pack, and it starts from my from my directors. Vinod Chako, he is the strongest person whom I would rely on my professional aspects, because he gives me the biggest support, especially on the IT part. And Naman Modi, yet another director of mine, he's a geek. He's a development geek. So any problem I come with, I ask Naman, can you fix my problem? He is all the way like, yeah, Didi, yes. So, and then my team members, my staffs, I would say that everybody from right from my designer Didil to my IT person Navya, to Chitra who makes my video graphics, to Ebin, one of the strongest pillars. I would say that he is that one who he has coordinated my team so well. Then I've got Lamia, my brand strategist. Yeah, everybody in my my team. Avinash, I don't know. I would say that if I start naming them, I would not stop. So I think every team member of my company is my strength. The rest, all the technical part, the talent part, everything comes secondary. It is my team. I would like this opportunity to tell my team, if ever they watch this video, thank you for supporting me and thank you for standing as a rock by me to make this company a huge success. Advice for us engineering students in this current scenario. You know, you should equip all knowledge, everything you can get, rather than going for very higher courses, go for small crash courses, understand from base what is this concept about. Before that, identify what is your futuristic, professional goal, what you want to become. Learn small courses or small sessions, speaker sessions, where you can get to and understand more about it. Build yourself day by day, and this is your time where you have got plenty of time, especially this online thing where you can get access to anything. Learn as much as you can, develop yourself into a better professional and a human, and then strategize yourself to become the best of you. So that was the advice I would give the engineering students. And one more thing, I would say to every engineer is an impossible person, because what we learn from engineering is not a textual content. What we learn in engineering is that, we are capable to do anything and everything, because we shoot our exams at the last moment. We think of every project at the last moment, but we are capable to do so because we are engineers. So engineering is something, they are capable of anything. Me, myself, being an engineer and engineering student, previously an engineering student, previously an engineering professor, I would say that an engineering graduate is something who is capable of doing anything, because that is how they have been carved. They have been groomed. They are capable of doing anything. They are superpowers. So you should never ever give up. Whatever your dream is, just simply chase it. You will get it. An engineer can do it. I'm sure. I'm pretty much sure of it. You take any industry, there would be an engineer, because an engineering is an ingredient of every successful system. How would you build a good team? A team. I already answered this, Sachin. Sanik, sorry, I've already answered this. Talented people and talented, responsible, and committed people. You have these three talents in your team with the loyalty towards system, then they would be the perfect people for a good team. Okay. Anything else? How do you prepare for such talk with business gens and other profs? Oh God, you may be successful, but as a human, still as a human, how do you tackle this nervous? Oh my God. Seriously speaking, the first thing is that, I never think that I'm going to face some gens. I just feel within me that I'm going to interact with some people, normal people who are like me. See, they are also humans ultimately. Before being gens, they might have traveled through my own path. Or today you are talking to me, you will reach like me at one point of time, or maybe bigger than me. So you have to take them as humans only, whom you are talking on an interactive session. You are just interacting with them. I love interacting with people. So I don't take that as a a place where you are going to face threats, or you need to be shy, or you need to be nervous, or you need to have some kind of insecurities. I'm an interactive person, so I like to talk, I like to speak, and I'm more natural. I even for this particular session, I never get prepared, okay, I'm going to do this in terms of speaking. Okay, rather, I mean, in terms of any other work I'm doing, I am always kind of, I have my charts, I have my plans, I keep in such a system that, you know, because I handle so many verticals. So in that case, I always have a plan or a pakka organization chart. But when it comes to speaking, trust me, I've never followed, okay, this is what I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to, no, I listen to the people and accordingly I interact. Whenever I'm in a panel session or whether I'm interacting with any people also, I answer accordingly what they ask me, or I ask them what I feel on that particular scenario, what they are speaking about, that particular contest, accordingly I speak. And I don't consider them as, you know, oh my God, how do I face them? Never that has struck my head. I think I was a very good extempore speaker kind in my school days. I'll tell you one tips for that. One tip for that. My father, actually, I got a lot of traits from my father, where he's very good with his English. He's a very good speaker and stuff like that. So whenever I used to have in my 4th standards, when I did my extempore speech, I was shivering. I had this mic problem where I was like, how do I face the audience and stuff. So that time my papa told me, see, you have to put it in your head like this, which I'm telling you. There's a speech called Gettysburg speech, which is very famous, Abraham Lincoln's speech. So in that speech, one of the interviewer asked Abraham Lincoln, the President of America, your speech is one of the most beautiful speaker session ever. How did you make it? The same question Rahul is asking me. So that time he said, whenever people who are talking to me or my viewers on a big scale, they're sitting in front of me, what I think is that I'm facing people who are taken credits from me. They are here to ask me to extend my credits. Okay, so what will be our you know, that what will be that feeling with them? Okay, we stand on the upper part, right? Because they have already taken money from us. They are coming here to get an extension. So we are not bothered of what they think, because they can't be judgmental. Because that is a mind strategy in our head. Because they cannot actually be judgmental, because they are here at our mercy to extend the thing. So you are just you can talk free flow in the way you want, because you're not bothered how they are judgmental or stuff like that. I think I have practiced that thing always in my life. So that might be the reason by which I don't get nervous during my speaking sessions. So I've spoken many a times. Though I have some kind of, you know, problems in when I talk, many ideas strike up in my mind. So sometimes I don't finish a sentence. So those problems are there, but I'm fine with that. I like the way I am. I try I do always in the natural way as much as possible. So doing natural is something which I believe that, you know, it comes from heart. It comes from the soul. So whatever you speak, it actually brings magic. So I'm never nervous. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. And it was great you giving me a tip on that thing. The best view is the hardest after the hardest climb. I'll never forget that. Okay. Thank you for giving me that tip. It made my day.
Thank you, ma'am. If anyone else have questions? If no one else, then I would like to call our CSO, Mr. Sanig, for the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us on how to run and execute a startup. I'm sure that this information will be very useful for us when we start a startup. I would like to wholeheartedly thank you on behalf of IADC Boston. Also, thank you for each and every participant for attending this program and making this program a huge success. Once again, thank you, ma'am. This was an amazing session. I really like the question answer part. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanik. Thank you.
Thank you. And participants, please fill up the feedback form, and your attendance is really mandatory for us. And once again, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, and I would like you to fill a Google form, which I would send you, which I would send across
Of course.
Sachin, regarding one of our platforms which we are putting across. Like, because somebody asked me what was the thing that the young engineering graduates would do. I have a plan. I have devised a small plan for it, which I would be sending across Sachin. Please do fill the form and send it across me, so that we would love to know what we could do more for the engineering graduates. I mean, in the present scenario and in future to come across.
Sure, ma'am. We'll do, and we'll share to our groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.